Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
I think after last episode was finished recording, other than being an absolute bloodbath, oh my goodness, we were playing like the Red Wings against Buffalo, or we were recording as if we were the Red Wings playing against Buffalo last episode. That was bad. And other than, taking a deep breath and making sure everyone survived that, I think I looked at both of you and said, I need these next 3 games to go well.
We need to mimic their performance, or we are mimicking their performance.
We have to.
Yet to be seen, but that's the plan anyway.
The Red Wings held up their end of the bargain. How many times have we come on to this podcast with 3 games since the last episode? All 3 of them wins. All 3 of them wins. 3 games in 4 nights, and the Red Wings come away with a W in each of them. Our Detroit Red Wings.
It's a whole new world.
For now, we're just going to enjoy this moment. We had an interview that we were going to put on this episode, and it is, for good reason, going to be pushed to the midweek, where there's some more space for that content. It's a really, really great interview. You'll like it. And what a good problem to have, where the Red Wings just could not stop winning and celebrating past cups, which is a really cool thing to do. Well, here to talk to you about that entire 3-game win streak, everything going on with the Detroit Red Wings, the world of the NHL, and hockey elsewhere. I am one of your hosts of the Winged Wheel Podcast, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Elon Musk.
Brad.
Parody. Is that what I legally have to say now?
Yeah, I think so. Evan will cancel you.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we are going to be talking about anything other than what Brad mentioned. We're going to be talking about the Detroit Red Wings and their 3-game win streak, not just the games themselves, but the 97 and 98 Cup victory 25th anniversary celebrations. We'll be talking about the individual and team performances that came with those 3 games against Washington, the New York Islanders, and the New York Rangers. Some notes for Red Wings across the board. Don't look now, but Dylan Larkin is playing like he's in a contract year. And, Dominik Kubalik, too. And he's not in a contract year. So we're going to be analyzing Filip Zadina's injury, how long he may be out, and what that means for Red Wings or Red Wings hopefuls. And then some news from across the NHL. None of the positive variety. Suspensions for Josh Anderson and Matthew Tkachuk. Boston has signed Mitchell Miller. And, a small note actually about Pavel Datsyuk. That one's, we don't often get news about Pav, and that one's positive, or, talk of him getting in the Hall, which is always fun. But before we do that, I do want to mention that this podcast is proudly supporting the Jamie Daniels Foundation, an organization we're really, really proud to partner with. And one way you can support the Jamie Daniels Foundation is by attending on Thursday, December 1st, Hot Stove Stories with Ken and Mick. So it is going to be a breakfast event at Motor City Casino from 7:30 to 9:30. Breakfast will be served. Mickey Redmond and Ken Daniels will be there to banter, recall stories of old, and they'll be joined by Red Wings legends Chris Draper and Chris Osgood, as well as refereeing legends Wes McCauley, who you'll hear on the mic today, in today's NHL, and legendary referee of old Dan O'Halloran. I will be there to just stand and mediate, but they are going to be the ones delivering that great content. So there's going to be a Q&A period. They're going to tell stories. It's going to be a great time. So visit jamiedanielsfoundation.org to get your tickets. Again, it's a breakfast event. It's going to be a blast, and it's for a fantastic cause. Oh, and there's a silent auction happening about halfway through November leading up to the event, and there's going to be a live auction there too with phenomenal items. I think there's a signed Ray Bourque puck, and that is one of like the smaller things being auctioned off. So to give you the idea of what's going to be there. So if you're a memorabilia person, it's going to be a treasure trove for you. Okay, I vote Vladdy comes to every game that he wants to come to. I'm not sure if he already does. I know he's at the LCA a lot, which is fantastic, but he has to be a good luck charm with the way this team was able to eke out wins. It's all on him.
I can't think of a single other reason why.
No.
It's just him.
And before we talk more about the celebrations, can I just say how nice it is to see him doing well? Like, he seems to be, like, seems to be so energetic, and he just seems to be doing really well. And I'm not familiar with what goes into his treatment. It's obviously very intensive, and we know it takes quite a bit of resources. But it's nice to see him energetic and pumping up the crowd and really enjoying his time there. He's one of the most beloved figures in Detroit for good reason, and he looks great. So it's awesome to see. My Red Wings childhood, like my nostalgia, was going nuts for the 25th anniversary celebrations. Like seeing Nicholas Lidstrom in the Red Wings jersey, obviously Yzerman there too. Did you see the picture I posted of Yzerman?
I did. I was wondering why I had so many notifications when I logged onto Twitter.
Yeah, your weekly log on.
Yep.
You saw it, Brad?
Yep.
Ken Daniels talking, presenting to the event, and Steve Yzerman on his phone sitting behind him, obviously doing something general manager-y. But all I can think of was, oh, that's Evan. This is what the YouTube comments hate.
That's right. I better see the exact same YouTube comments
About Steve Yzerman.
About Steve Yzerman.
Well, if you're able to do it, make the same impact that Steve Yzerman has for the Red Wings, then I think you'll get a pass.
I'm on the right path.
Sure. Yeah, man.
Just need like a few more years of high impact events.
Watching the Red Wings file in and then Brendan Shanahan getting there and then playing the Irish jig, I was like, whoa, the wave of nostalgia is actually out of control. It made me so damn happy.
That brief moment where you forgot that Shanahan turncoated and joined the enemy.
Yeah. I know
for now.
It's not popular. I've said it before, like bring Shanny back, and that's a purely a selfish thing. Like I think the Red Wings already have a great group of hockey minds consulting on this team, and I know a lot of people don't want Shanny back because they're like, well, what's happened in Leafs land? What is there to say for that? I still disagree, and that's purely subjective.
Yeah, I don't fault him for it. It never not looks wrong.
Oh man, it's just good to see them again. And then on the first night, they did the celebration on both nights. Thursday was 97 and Saturday was 98. But just seeing Chris Draper grab the cup and very intentionally bring it over to Vladdy, put it in Konstantinov's lap, just like, the video that we've seen a million times when they won the cup in 98. It was it makes you tear up. Like we've seen the story and it's been told a trillion times, and it still gets me. It's still one of the most impactful things for Red Wings fans. Well, that was fun, and it was a celebration of championship, a couple of championship seasons for the Red Wings. And I was actually kind of worried going in. I was like, this isn't an easy lineup. This is not
the good times
to
be having these.
No, they just got thumped 8-3 by Buffalo. And not that Washington's been the best, or like, Washington, New York is the toughest slate in the league, but it's not an easy one.
No, the Red Wings had a very cupcake schedule to start the season, and you knew eventually there would be a stretch of good teams. And the Capitals are facing a ton of injuries right now. They are not playing like the Capitals we know.
Mm-hmm.
The Islanders, who started the season slow, walked into Detroit on a 5-game winning streak. So, you can argue about who the Islanders actually are, but they were coming in on a heater. And then, the Rangers are the Rangers. They haven't been, firing on all cylinders lately, but they're still a super talented team.
Yeah.
So it was, to phrase it in context with the rest of the episode, it was 3 very losable games.
Let's start with the Washington game, which was awesome. A great start, especially for the Red Wings power play with where Kubalik in the second period. It's not a surprise that it's Kubalik, but Kubalik found Raymond on the back door. That is a really great use of the net front. Prashant Iyer, I'm sure he was serious, but it was almost in a joking way. He said this is the modern version of the Red Wings net front, but they've done it a lot, like that backdoor play, and we're going to talk about another very important backdoor goal in a couple minutes here, but that is an excellent use of that, and Kubalik has an eye for it too. And credit to Lucas Raymond, kicked the puck up from his skate to his stick to bury that. That was great.
Yeah, for that play to work, you have to have an actual shot threat on that side. And I know we've beat to death the importance of having Perron and Kubalik on opposite flanks where both are legitimate shooting threats constantly. But you're not going to score on every shot. And teams eventually start to game plan. You look at what teams have tried to do to Ovechkin for the last however many years. When you can open up different lanes, and keep the defense and the goalie guessing, it makes the pass and the shot more effective. So after Kubalik's hot start, people were naturally going to assume every time that puck touched his stick, it would be going at the net 100 miles an hour. So every time he throws the changeup to Lucas Raymond backdoor, it's got a pretty high percentage chance of going in.
You guys see that offsetting minor that they called on Lucas Raymond?
Yeah, where he got mugged.
So Ovi gets a tripping call, knee on Seider. Ovi complained a lot about that one, a lot. And I was like, Alex, that was so obviously a penalty. He tried to do the accidentally on purpose thing, and he didn't even do that well.
Oh, I'll give Ovi credit. I don't think he meant to hit Seider knee on knee and trip him. He was leading with his arms. He was legit trying to hit Seider. It's still a penalty.
It's a penalty. So while all that's happening, Kuznetsov goes after Raymond, gives him a couple shots. At one point has his chin strap in his glove, is like holding him by the chin. Cross-check in there as well. And the referee looks at that and says, oh, well, Washington's already going on the penalty kill. I can't give them an extra penalty. So he gives Kuznetsov something because you have to. Mugging the guy right there. And Lucas Raymond, the poor guy, is just standing there, not even defending himself.
Should have got his money's worth, I suppose.
Honestly, as stupid as it is to say, referees will never change. Give him a shot. Pop him in the chin. Pop him in the chin while the ref is in the way. I don't care. Because if they're going to call an offsetting minor either way, yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a penny. It was less than a penny. That's my biggest gripe. Well, it's one of my biggest gripes with refereeing. They're afraid to call the game in a way. I'm not the person who's like militant about call the rule book as it's written. I understand that's going to get messy, but too many times referees are afraid to call penalties as they are. If a team wants to be a bunch of boneheads and take 2 penalties on one play, penalize them both times. Watch how many more times they'll do that for the rest of the game. I bet it's 0.
You just described game management.
It's what it is. There's a certain conversation to be had about, why are you both wearing green today? Did you text each other?
Nope.
It's St. Patrick's Day, right?
Yeah, close to it. Why, were you drinking like it is?
Yes.
Anyways, there's a certain kind of game management on a much more subtle level where a referee can work with a team and say, hey, I let that one go. That was like a 50-50 chop. But if he does it again, he's going. This is your warning. That kind of stuff's okay. Making up a phantom call because it doesn't make you feel nice at Washington's.
Because you missed a call or something.
Put them 2 men down. Stick them in the box for 4 minutes. Like, whatever they do, penalize them for it. It's how games get out of hand, and the refs are like, oh, we're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Well, fast forward a couple days, I successfully predicted that's what was going to happen at one point in the Islanders game because the refs did call everything to start the game, and because the Islanders are one of the, I'm not going to call them goons, but goonier squads in the league, they were running around doing stupid stuff.
Lock your doors, Lou's coming for you.
Yeah, I do not endorse this statement at all. This is Brad's.
Oh, I think he would be happy with my statement.
I got to change my shirt right now.
He legitimately won't have a productive fourth line because he likes this exact type of thing. I think he'd be okay with this statement. But the Islanders were running around being a bunch of idiots. The refs called a bunch of penalties against the Islanders, including, I think there was an extended 5-on-3 there for running around and being a bunch of idiots. I sent out a tweet saying the Red Wings need to score on one of these power plays because they are going to get the next string of penalties or something along those lines. And, after Lucas Raymond blew up Matt Barzal and the Islanders ran around like idiots and put the Red Wings on a 5-on-3, and Lucas Raymond scored on that 5-on-3, it was proceeded to be, the rest of the game was called very much in favor of the Islanders. There was a play where Lucas Raymond got buried from behind into the Islanders goalie. Dylan Larkin got the only penalty in the scrum. This is the game management that drives people up your...
snipers in the rafters.
That's right.
This is exactly what you're describing. It just happened a game later because you could see it coming. Can't have too many power plays for the Red Wings. And they had a lot early, so they made it up the rest of the game.
So the rest of the Washington game, the biggest story there was late in the game. Pretty much outside of the Raymond power play goal, it was 1-1. It was a grindy game. Washington was probably the better team. in terms of how they were producing on the ice, but Ville Husso was just outstanding the whole game. He was the only reason that Detroit was in it. Washington couldn't convert on anything, and then Andrew Copp late in the game finds the perfect time to score his first career goal with the Detroit Red Wings. Excellent. Like, was it a pretty goal? No, but he'll take it. And everyone was just like, yes, like Copp, what a moment to arrive. And you just knew with how Ville Husso kept him in that game that the Red Wings were just looking for that one bounce, and that's what they got.
Yeah. When Copp obviously had his chances in the first, however many games, and he should have had more than 0 goals based on the way he was playing. He hasn't exactly been a revelation yet, but he had a late start, but he's been playing all right and had his chances, and just they wouldn't go in for him.
Yeah.
And then, he's still doing the right things on the ice, going to the right places, making the smart plays. And I think, he was just driving the net, found the lane. I think it was Larkin from behind the net put it out to him. And Copp more or less whiffs on it.
Ernie
gave
to Copp, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Copp does not get 100% of that puck when he shoots it. And, maybe because of the angle of the pass that came out from behind the net, or the fact that it was an off-speed shot, it just really threw off Kemper, and that should be saved 100 out of 100 times, but it got through. And right when that goal went in, you could actually hear Filip Zadina break his stick on the bench. But
you know what? The difference is Copp went to the net.
Yeah, well, Zadina tries. But this is what we mean when we say, hey, eventually a guy who hasn't got a break is going to get a break. And Copp should have had a couple other goals this season on plays that usually end in goals. Yeah. This probably shouldn't have. This is the balance. This is the regressing to the mean. So should anybody feel guilty or upset that the Red Wings won a game on a pretty fluky goal? No, absolutely not.
Because that's how crash that. Yeah. That goal is, as much as it's not planned and you can't bank on it, and that's not a set play, it's also planned and you can bank on it, and that practically is a set play, because that's how hockey works. You crash the net, you make shit happen.
Yeah, and for everyone that should have went in, you're eventually going to get a couple that shouldn't have that do. And this was, the universe finally throwing Copp a bone, and it ended up winning the game for the Wings.
Larkin got an empty netter as Copp found him for the he paid it back. The Michigan connection, and Copp gave the empty net goal to Larkin. And Larkin got the empty netter, and that was a 2-point night for Larkin as he continued to produce. A 2-point night for Copp. Raymond, of course, got that power play goal. And the Red Wings got a great start to Thursday, but great start to the weekend there. And then moving down to the Islanders game, obviously the pre-game festivities as well, but that was an afternoon game. Again, I think it was McCarty this time, handed the cup to Vladdy, so already good juju in the building. And, what do we talk about first other than Raymond absolutely destroying Matt Barzal open ice, just a beautiful, clean hit. I understand the scrum after. I'm a big, you don't scrum after every clean hit guy. If I was on the Islanders, I'd be pissed off.
Some guys also, are coming off the bench. They just hop over and they see their guy get blown up. They don't know the circumstances before it, and it happens so fast. They don't like it. And then one guy jumps in, and there goes everybody else. It happens.
And it's noteworthy it was Matt Barzal.
Yeah.
There might not be the same reaction if it was, a fourth line.
Casey Cizikas.
Yeah, exactly. Although Cizikas would probably take care of that himself.
Yeah.
But, when you see your best player going down in the neutral zone dramatically, I know people hate scrums and fights after clean hits. And in a bubble, we all understand why it's stupid, but in the same bubble, we all understand why it happens.
Yeah. But, man, Lucas Raymond has really turned it on.
Since he scored Wingwheel Podcast Night bump.
That's right.
That's literally what it is. He's looked completely different after that, or from that game onward.
In every facet of the game, converting on the power play, getting involved physically, which isn't a new part of his game, and it's one that we loved last season. And think of how many stars you see around the league who are considered smaller and more skill, hockey IQ guys who have no physical aspect to their game. And not only do they get shut down physically, but they get punk tested a lot, as Brad loves to talk about. And Lucas Raymond is not afraid to give it back. And
no, not at all.
If he's going to blow up Matt Barzal and get his nose dirty in a scrum. It doesn't matter if he wins every fight or whatever. No, he's just not afraid to get his nose dirty. And like, he's just showing up as such a complete player right now. It's hard to find a player of his skill set and say that's a coach's dream player, but it really is because he's doing everything.
That's why you subscribe to the WWP Patreon.
That's right.
You get a huge bump like that.
Can we confirm or deny? No. But it'd be cool if he did. So you can make reality whatever you want it to. And then, of course, Raymond followed up his massive hit with a power play goal, and that was just karma.
Yeah, he throws the hit, manages to keep his cool in the scrum, not take a penalty. The Islanders take another penalty on that power play, turn to 5-on-3, and Lucas Raymond converts it. That is the ultimate FU that you can throw to any team.
So what was the play? It was the puck went to Kubalik on the right side, and he found Lucas backdoor left side.
Weird. Yeah, never seen that one. It was nice to bust it out for the first time.
Kubalik's not an aberration, right? Like, he's not a blip. Like, this guy has serious talent. I'm not saying he's going to score. He's going to be at a 102.5 point pace all year. No. I'd be surprised if Larkin is. But these are serious skills that the Red Wings were deficient in before this season. I just didn't think they'd find so much of it in one player who was signed for pennies.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's not going to keep up at this clip forever. Right now, he's the beneficiary of, the bounces that come when you're on a heater. And he's a beneficiary of a depleted lineup because he's playing a huge role right now. But what people always say is, hey, when opportunity presents, seize it. And I don't care what Jacob Vrana looks like when he comes back, or Tyler Bertuzzi. Kubalik's not losing his spot on power play 1 the way he's producing from that flank. That's his spot for the year now. You can put Vrana on the second unit because that unit's useless right now. And if Bertuzzi comes back, you can put him on the second power play unit. The first unit looks phenomenal, and the guys who have been given the opportunity with the injuries have capitalized it. Kubalik first and foremost, and obviously he's playing a regular top 6 role because of the injuries, because he did not start there at the beginning of the year. So is he an aberration? Kind of, yes, but is he an actual good player who will probably produce for the bulk of the season at a decent rate? Also, yes.
That game was, Pius Suter showed up shorthanded, and that was the play where you talked about where Larkin was the only one penalized. It was weird.
Yeah.
That seemed like a balancing penalty. Suter, again, a little bit of karma, scores shorthanded, and then who else but Kubalik finishes the 3-goal effort for the Red Wings. Short side goal, which was a mix of Kubalik having a great release, and I honestly don't think that puck should have gone in.
He beat him clean, and you do not see a lot of goalies get beat like that.
On the short side, and that was a goalie's angle. Like, goalie, yeah.
Low blocker on a goalie from a lefty is tough for a goalie, but it was a 2-on-1, and you could tell Varlamov was absolutely leaning for a pass there. And
good on Kubalik.
Kubalik recognized it and saw the window and hit it.
Kubalik's performance has been so good that they awoke Evan, and he came in and made a non-retweet.
That's right.
Twitter post.
That's right. The seal of approval. He didn't even have to pay for it.
My mom could call me right now and say, hey, I'm proud of you even though you didn't go to med school. And I think that would be less of an honor than you out of nothing, just out of dust, creating a message and tweeting it out on Twitter.
I agree. I fully agree with that.
Thank you for not going further into my self-deprecating joke.
You're welcome.
3-0 Red Wings win, and that is Ville Husso with a second fantastic performance, a shutout performance, bringing his save percentage up to a .941 on the year, which is good for 5th in the NHL currently, and among goalies who have played 7 or more games like he has, that's 3rd. It's early. He's played 7 games.
It's still absurd that there's that many goalies above that.
Jake Ottinger, who's a freak.
Well, yeah, that one makes sense.
Cam Talbot with 2 games has a .951, so that one is what it is. Carter Hart, 8 games has a .946. Philadelphia, you're welcome. And Stuart Skinner is still crushing it in Edmonton through 5 games with a .944. But Ville Husso has been lights out for Detroit.
Yeah, so the Islanders game, the Red Wings were the better team the whole game.
It was much more...
Bit of a third period lull, but for the most part, they were the better team.
Which has been a trend for them.
Yeah. But Husso was still great. The Capitals game, the Red Wings were not the better team, and Husso stole that game. So when he's getting a ton of work or when his team's carrying the play, it doesn't matter. He does what he needs to do, which is fantastic to see because we've talked about it, he just looks so calm in the net. He just can't be rattled.
Even if Ned had been good or up to this point, or, you know, the Red Wings played better in front of Ned, it's hard to see a world where this isn't a 100% unanimous agreement that Ville Husso is not only the Red Wings bona fide starter right now, but it's not too dissimilar to what Carter Hart is doing in Philly, right? Like, he's keeping them in games and allowing them to have an opportunity to steal points. We were talking pre-episode. The Red Wings right now, and this isn't a knock on them, like, this is not a complaint. I want to make that clear from the start. But the Red Wings right now, they don't have the talent to come out and shoot lights out and just blow teams out of the building like, you know, a Tampa or Colorado Cup competitive team can do. But they want to win games. So how are they doing it? You've heard Ken talk about it on the broadcast. You've heard Derek Lalonde flat out say it. They're clogging up the neutral zone. You know, whatever 1-3-1, 1-2-2, whatever you want to call it, they're clogging up that neutral zone and they're making it really tough for teams to get anything going. And sometimes that makes for mucky, dirty hockey. And you just shut down the opposition's offense. Okay, that's step one. 2, did your goalie give you what you need? Husso has been doing that game in and game out. Great. 3, did you screw up on special teams? The Red Wings didn't this weekend. Awesome. What can your forwards muster? And that's where the biggest question mark is for me right now with the Red Wings. They are not super talented on offense, partially because of injury, partially because that's just where they are in the rebuild, and partially because a lot of guys are still finding their form, although it's a lot better now than it was last episode. Yeah,
to continue this tangent a little bit, there's 2.
Oh my
This
God.
is off topic.
Yeah, this
We're terrible content.
No, I wanted to talk about this, but I didn't think we'd bring it up in the context of Ville Husso. But
because he's given him a chance. But yeah, take it.
Yeah, so the Red Wings, what was the word I used pre-episode to describe their offense?
Can't repeat that on air, Brad. You know that.
Yeah, something like a struggle bus or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're generating enough offense to get by, and the first power play unit's mostly doing their job, but it looks hard. Nothing they do on offense looks easy. They don't have the Mika Zibanejads, Artemi Panarins, Nathan McKinnons, the guys who can just pull offense out of the air and it looks effortless to them. The Red Wings play a lot of cycle, a lot of grinding along the boards to get the puck, a lot of, crashing the net for rebounds. They don't score that many pretty goals. They don't manufacture it easily. It's tough. And, part of that's injuries, part of that even fully healthy. I don't think there's a lot of easy goals. Sure, a couple, Jacob Vrana shots help, like we've seen from Kubalik. So they're doing what they need to do on offense, but that only works if the defense and the goaltending is sound. And this is where the Lalonde era versus the Blashill era is really, really finally starting to, you can see it.
It's taking a little bit of a shape.
There's a lot of mucky games because the Red Wings have to. They know talent for talent, skill for skill. Capitals, Islanders, Rangers, all 3 of them, the Red Wings were not the more skilled team. They just weren't. So what they have to do is shut down the Matt Barzals, the Alex Ovechkins, the Mika Zibanejad, the Artemi Panarin as best as they can. They know they're not going to fully stop it, but keep the damage reasonable. Washington only got 1 goal. It was Ovechkin, but it was only 1. The Rangers only got 1 goal from Panarin and Zibanejad, and it was on the power play. The Islanders got nothing. So, to Lalonde and the Red Wings' credit, Husso hasn't, and Ned haven't had, in their good games, a ton of high danger chances against. The Red Wings are good about limiting shots in general, limiting scoring chances. And then when they do get into a fire drill in their own zone, if you actually notice it, it happens a lot more than we would like. But when it happens, they're pretty good about keeping it to the outside. A lot of point shots, a lot of passes that end through the slot that don't really materialize because there's a Red Wing there. So, I don't think Husso's had to play like a Vezina contender to get these wins, but he's, you run enough fire drills, there's going to be chances. But the combination of Husso and Ned against the Rangers today, playing extremely well, coupled with finally starting to get a really good picture of what Lalonde's systems are, have completely changed this team. That is the fundamental difference from last year. Yeah, Kubalik and Perron help with, and a couple of the other guys help with a little more offense, but that's offset by losing Vrana and Bertuzzi at the same time. Defensively, transitionally, and in the net, this is a fundamentally different team than last year, whereas offensively, we're seeing a lot of the same, I'm not going to call them problems, but same struggles as last year.
And they're not always going to translate, like that system is not always going to translate to wins either. And look no further than this year's Red Wings to see that. Like, we're talking about this 3-game high, and it's a very happy-go-lucky episode. But
I mean, they are 7-3-2, so this isn't just the 3-game high is nice, but they were getting points before that.
Totally. But there will be lows. There will be lows where a little bit of bad puck luck, a little bit of cold goaltending, some special teams woes or whatever it might be, it's going to move the needle in another direction. But not only is this important now to pay dividends to make Red Wings, what are they, second in the Atlantic right now?
Yes.
Insane. Not only is that paying dividends this year to give them more points on the board, it's also laying a fantastic foundation for when they do get more talented. And I don't just mean when Bertuzzi and Vrana come back. I mean, as the rebuild progresses, and, Derek Lalonde will still hopefully be coaching this team, and it'll be same systems, then you have a lot more to play with. Then you have a team who knows how to buckle down and shut down the opposition, play team defense, get the fundamentals right so you don't have to rely on, one superstar trying to win the game, but then they actually have the superstars. And it's a long path from now to the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is where Derek Lalonde is getting this system and these kind of philosophies from. But you can kind of see it laid ahead, and it's a promising start to the season. You're not going to start drawing a parade route or anything yet, but it is a promising start.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system. As we've seen so far, teams with elite shooters can exploit the system because the Wings, when they get in the fire drill, they collapse the middle, which when you're gassed, when you're tired, when you've been in your own zone for over a minute, it is the right course of action. But the Stamkoses, the Zibanejads, Ovechkins of the world, they're going to find it eventually, and it's all about limiting it. And it's so far very acceptable.
So the Red Wings came into a third game in 4 nights, and this one's on a back-to-back with travels. They went to New York to play the Rangers, and of course that's the start that Ned got. And that's not a complaint either. Husso earned the 2 home starts with rest and obviously was outstanding. But this has been the story of the season so far. Part of it has been Ned's own making, and part of it has just been the luck of the draw. But Ned gets a tough assignment where the Red Wings start out down 2-0 to the New York Rangers after first. And that was a tough 2-0 down because I thought the Red Wings power play was fantastic. They created a lot of really good chances. Halak was outstanding. The post was great. Some bad puck luck also kept the puck out, but the Red Wings were doing the right things. And it was a great start to the second period where Matt Luff got his first with the Red Wings on a great redirect off of a shot, and Seider, another assist for him to put the Red Wings on the board. And they picked up quite a bit after that. They were much more energetic, and it looked like they knew that they could beat the Rangers tonight, which I was watching that, and I was fully expecting this to be the tough game of the 3. Like that game to be okay, not everything can be perfect this weekend.
I mean, it probably was the toughest game of the 3 in hindsight, the way they all went down. But no, yeah, the Wings had a really good bounce back. Going into the third period, they're out shooting the Rangers pretty comfortably. They were controlling the play. They were mucking up the neutral zone and the D zone very effectively. The Rangers weren't generating anything of substance. Kreider got sent down to the 4th line. And, the Red Wings got not a lucky goal, but point shot that gets tipped in. It's not a super common occurrence, but it was good to see Matt Luff, full face shield and all, tip the Sherratt point shot in.
Yep.
From a mile away. That shot was going into the corner, and he somehow tipped that. It was an excellent redirect.
Yeah, that's vintage 2002 point shot.
It's what you call a low percentage shot.
Hey, be nice to defenseman, Brad.
But it went in. And then, they had the 3-on-2 that Suter was able to put in the rebound. And at that point in the game, the Red Wings were definitely controlling the flow. And it was great to see. There's something to be said about, did the Rangers have their A game today? No, very obviously not. But you got to capitalize when you can. Did not love the Red Wings third period, which seems to be a trend. They've been doing that a lot. The Rangers heavily controlled the third period, but Ned was dialed. Yep. Ned was absolutely dialed in that third period. He looked different. It felt different. Like he was calmer. He was. You could just feel that he was more confident. Yeah. In that one, so it was good to see. And yeah, despite the Rangers controlling play, nothing got through him. It was another story. The Red Wings goalie made essentially every save that he needed to make, more or less. It kept the Red Wings in it. Suter picked up a rebound off of a heroic shot, which was off of a Larkin shot. And the game went to overtime. It was because of Ned. He did everything that he needed to do to get them there. And then
he had an assist on the game-winning goal.
He did, yeah. Did they actually give him the apple on that? No,
I don't think he's the one who started.
He sent it down. Yeah, it was Seider to Perron.
Did I say assist?
Yeah.
Well,
he set up the zone entry.
Yes,
he was the one who caught the Rangers on a change, fired it down, and allowed the Red Wings to get a pretty easy entry.
He had a non-stat assist.
There's Red Wings defensemen who can't even make that pass.
Especially in previous years.
About half of them, anyways.
Seider, with his second assist of the night, sent it over to Perron, who was really great tonight, by the way. And I didn't give him enough credit post-game, and he really was good. And what a fantastic pass to Kubalik backdoor.
Yeah, just sat there. I don't know how else it got. He just sat there with the puck, not moving.
He's just sitting there menacingly.
And he just waited for the defenseman closest to Kubalik to just switch to defend the other side. Because, when you're on a 4-on-3 power play, it sucks for defenders because you basically have to cover two guys at once when the diamond is set up. So he didn't know if Perron was looking for the 1T to, I want to say, Larkin or backdoor to Kubalik, and Perron just sat there waiting. And when the stick went from Kubalik to Larkin, Perron fed it through to Kubalik for the easy tap-in.
Yeah, that was through Trouba's triangle too, which Trouba is going to be livid about. And that was through a triangle of New York Rangers players collapsing in because it was 4-on-3 power play in overtime. They're going to have to replace the post and a stick for Halak. He lost his mind after that goal. It's not on him either.
No, Halak played great. Goalies are just competitive. Yeah. You hate losing the game, and it's got to be frustrating for him because it wasn't even a shot that he had a chance in hell at saving. So it's kind of he's probably angry because of that helpless feeling of it all.
Anyhow, it's not often that we spend this long just recapping the games. Usually that's actually...
Well, how many times do we have 3 games between episodes?
We're going to take advantage of this while we can. But let's talk about some takeaways. We'll do the standings thing right now. The Red Wings are 7-3-2, 16 points through 12 games. That's good for second in the Atlantic in one of the divisional playoff seeds, but we won't get too far into that. Let's talk again after Thanksgiving. But some storylines. Don't look now, but Dylan Larkin and Dominik Kubalik both at 15 points. I believe with my very terrible math, that puts them at 102.5 point pace for the season. Definitely sustainable for both. No question about it.
I'm taking the over.
I'm surprised about Kubalik. I'm really not surprised about Larkin. How many times have you seen great player, star player even, who has a contract coming up, and there's some questions about, do you put him into really high-paying territory or elite payment territory, and they just come out and are lights out that season.
It's amazing what a little extra motivation will do. I'll be surprised if Larkin finishes at 102 points, but I'm not surprised he came out of the gates just on fire.
And I don't think enough is said, because so much time is spent talking about Larkin, and a lot of it has been contract-focused. Even through the tough games, Larkin has been one of Detroit's best players night in and night out.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in his career, and he's the captain, we know what Dylan Larkin is. It's just game by game to what degree, to what level of effectiveness. You know what you're getting. He hasn't added anything new to his repertoire in a couple of years, but what he does have is more consistent and a little better and a little smarter. And this is a result of it.
He's getting to the middle of the ice a lot better than he did in the early years of his career. He was the biggest perimeter player that I could really remember. He just sat on the outside, just tried to use his speed to get in, but like that just does not work at the NHL level, and he'd circle the ice all day.
He just went for wraparounds against Ottawa every game.
Yeah. And now he's really getting into the middle of the ice, understanding where the lanes are at the NHL level, and it's paying massive dividends for him.
Elevating, players like Lucas Raymond and keeping Detroit in games where they just need something to squeak through. I will say I could do without the heart attacks that he and Mo Seider give Red Wings fans every game. I think Mo Seider just has so much leg. Like, he's just so tall that the puck... I want him to wear heavier shin pads, because it seems like he takes a puck to the leg and is wincing and limping off every single game. And every time it happens, I'm like, this is the one. This is the one where there's like a bone bruise or a fracture or something, and he's going to be out, and we're all going to be very sad. And then he's out there like 6 seconds later.
Rasmussen took a good one today, too.
Oh, that was gnarly. Jeez. And he didn't have a chance to set, too. And you could see on his face, it was equal parts pain and like, damn it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the one Zadina took in a second as well. But yeah, Larkin and Seider, aside from the heart attacks, Larkin has been phenomenal. And we've obviously said everything there is to say about Kubalik. Both of them have been outstanding. You'd hope that they aren't Detroit's only highly productive players. Who's next on the Red Wings scoring? Is it 8 with Perron?
David Perron, 7 points behind them.
Yeah. But I'd take that over the what we've had previous years, which is nobody at over 100-point play pace. Yeah. We talked about Filip Zadina. After the Islanders game, he left. He took a puck to the high ankle/ankle area. It looks like something broke, like a fracture.
Yeah, as you just said with Mo Seider, those shots are hard.
They hurt.
They hurt a lot. And
if he was wearing Ryan's skate shot blockers, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad.
I wore them for one tournament, and I needed them, and I will not back off of this.
I don't even know if the shot blockers come up and cover the ankle.
It wouldn't have helped with the
they
ankle.
don't.
It's for the inside of the foot.
And man, that is the worst part on the boot to get hit, because
your ankle bone is.
Your ankle bone sticks out, so it's closer to the edge of the boot, and the ankle bone in general is like, mine's all swollen right now from a pass that hit me last night. Like,
is that what it's like to be old?
Filip Zadina's like 23. Screw you.
I was talking about you. A pass hit your ankle.
I mean, it wasn't like a soft one, but still, it was just a pass. But yeah, and that hurt like hell and still hurts like hell. So yeah, that obviously would break someone's bone. It's not surprising that it broke Filip Zadina's ankles. It just makes it all the more surprising every time it doesn't break Mo Seider's.
Yeah. There needs to be, and it's been a lot of just freak accidents, but at some point, either the trainers or the Red Wings coaching staff is going to have to look at all the players taking pucks to the insides of their legs, or like Bertuzzi with where he took the puck on his hand, to say, we got to do some lessons on how to protect yourself.
Yeah, I understand some coaches teach that kind of, turn your body a little bit to make yourself bigger when you're blocking a shot. And from are you going to block the shot perspective, yes, it is more effective. So I understand why you would do that in a big situation. But this is the result. The way your equipment is designed, there are so many more unprotected areas and sensitive spots that you're going to catch it. Because if you just skate straight on, and, Bertuzzi got unlucky where it hit him in the back of the hand, but all your gear is protective head on. You are far less likely to get injured. The only way you're going to get injured blocking a shot that way, in all likelihood, is unless it ramps up a stick and hits you in the face, or like Bertuzzi, catches you in the hand, or it catches you on the laces. So, I get it, and it's the NHL, and it comes with the territory, but if you're playing a lower level, please don't do that.
Zadina's going to be out. I think Ken said on the broadcast 6 to 8 weeks, which lines up with what we were hearing even before the game.
Lalonde after the game today said months.
So it could even
weeks.
Be. Yeah. That's quite a bit of time. We're not going to get into what that means for Filip Zadina. He's had after what was a very promising preseason, a very frustrating start to his season. It's been bad. And this is probably the only thing that could have made it worse. So aside from diving into that black pit of despair for Filip Zadina's hopes for this season, because that's a ways away, what does that mean for who's going to come up? Because Berggren playing in Grand Rapids is looking really good. I know Zarnik is up. I know Matt Luff is up, and the Red Wings have options, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bring in the biggest prospect name, but in terms of where they need talent on this team, they need scoring talent. Not like Zadina was doing much in that department, but they needed Zadina to be doing a lot in that department. So all that to say, does this bring Jonathan Berggren that much closer to Hockeytown?
The fan in me says I hope so. I don't know if it's the right answer, though, because Berggren's doing well. Berggren needs to play power play, but then again, I think Zarnik was on the power play today, so I'm kind of arguing against myself there. If you wanted to give him a look, this feels like the time. I don't know what they want, their thoughts and their feelings about continuity. Do they want to yo-yo guys? The last thing I want to see happen with Berggren is what they were doing with Cholowski forever. I mean, that's always going to be our poster child for, how to not handle a prospect. And the yo-yoing of him was, as we can now see, very detrimental to his career. Would like a 5 to 10 game stint of just, hey, we're bringing you up, get a taste for it, get a feel for it, and then we're sending you back and you're not coming up again? Sure. I could very much see the logic in that. Not only out of getting Berggren a feel for what the NHL is like, but also we're getting close to the point of necessity, because there's only so many Matt Luffs and Austin Czarniks in the world you can bring up. Yeah, I don't have a good answer here because I don't know what their plan is for Berggren, but the fact that Luff and Czarnik came up first leads me to believe the plan with Berggren is continuity and development and dominating. Not, hey, we're going to bring you up and you're going to play wing with Austin Czarnik and Matt Luff. So it's basically the AHL, but with tougher competition. So I get the feeling that unless it gets desperate, he's probably not coming. At least they don't want him to.
I want to double back for a second and make a smart-ass quip, but I wanted to let you finish your point. I think Dennis Cholowski not being able to play defense as a defenseman was also very detrimental.
Some continuity might have helped him learn it a little more efficiently.
Yeah, with Berggren, I'm not... when it happens, it happens. I can see the argument for continuity. I'm personally of the mind, I'm like, yeah, just bring him up now, see what sticks, right? I think Soderblom has been, you can make a case for him staying up to kind of learn the pace. We were talking about this with Maxim Prashant. The pace thing and where's the best place for him, because his play has dropped off since he started out really hot. But there's a good argument to say, even if he's struggling here, just leave him here and let him adjust. Or if it's getting to be too bad, then, put him down in the AHL, but will that actually be enough for his development? The Zadina injury gives him more buffer. And I think if you're doing that with Soderblom and you're keeping him in the NHL to give him time to adjust, I don't mind doing that with Berggren too. I'm kind of just, like we talked about earlier, the Red Wings need offensive help. It can't just come from the same guys, and it needs to be more of a consistent spread out threat. But if their internal plan for him is, we want you to stay up when you come up, and this isn't the exact right opportunity, then I can see that. But hey, 6 to 8 weeks or even longer, that's one hell of an opportunity.
Yeah, and out of everybody injured right now, Sundqvist seems to be the only one who's not going to be out for a while still. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, whatever decisions they make do feel like they're going to have, not permanence to them, but some longevity to it. It's not going to be, this guy, this game, that guy, that game, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. Well, we'll see where that goes, and there's a lot more to say about this, but we actually have some other things to talk about. Very quickly, Pavel Datsyuk. Ken mentioned on the air that Igor Larionov told him that Datsyuk was unofficially done playing hockey, so by all rights he's retired, but he hasn't actually filed the paperwork, and Larionov is trying to get Pavel Datsyuk to file that paperwork, because then that starts the clock on when he's eligible for Hockey Hall of Fame nomination, which is 3 years after retirement. So, Pav, please do it.
Pav does his own thing.
Yeah, he certainly does. But I want to see him and Hank go up at the same time.
Yeah.
The NHL. Matthew Tkachuk got suspended 2 games for sticking his blade in Jonathan Quick's mask.
Yep. Yeah, he was trying to Darcy Kemper him.
Stupid. I'm glad the NHL called that out and actually suspended him. The NHL also suspended Josh Anderson for one of the ugliest hits from behind I've seen in a long time for the same amount of time. 2 games.
Shades of Chris Draper.
That was it.
There was the same damn hit in the same damn spot on the ice.
I know this is going to be a stupid thing to say, but if Pietrangelo got seriously hurt there, that's a difference between a 2-game suspension and like most of a season suspension.
If Alex
I know I'm dramatic,
Pietrangelo,
but
Alex Pietrangelo had Chris Draper's injuries, this suspension is in the double digits minimum.
if the hit was worse, it would have been worse. I know that's what we're saying, but it was fundamentally like
the outcome and the results were worse.
Well, this is my whole argument
been worse.
why the outcome should not matter. I hate that is factored into suspensions because you can have identical plays, and because one guy's built like Mo Seider and one guy's built like Filip Zadina, the results could be completely different. And it's the same play.
that was a play like had his visor or his helmet been up or down 2 inches, like
charging
facial like surgery to his face bones.
Charging from behind with time into the dasher board. I knew the NHL Department of Player Safety wasn't going to get this right. Like, we all knew. I thought they would at least get closer than this.
It was
I was thinking, okay, I'd give him 10. I figure they'll give him 5. 2? I mean, I'm not to diminish what Matthew Tkachuk did, but gently trying to like poke the guy in the face versus, almost shattering a guy's face.
Let's not compare this to Matthew Tkachuk. They just gave Michael Rasmussen
2
games for high
shit.
sticking. I cannot believe that the NHL Department of Player Safety.
You can't.
You know what?
I can't
You're
believe
right.
it. I fully believe it. Like, can you
This
believe
is a
it?
Gordon Miller, Pierre McGuire moment, ladies and gentlemen.
The first time I've ever wanted Pierre on this mic.
That's right.
When I saw this suspension for Josh Anderson, the only thing that popped in my mind was that scene from Malcolm in the Middle with Dewey sitting at the table. I expect nothing, and I'm still disappointed.
It was so bad.
I can't.
I will say, knowing that wasn't going to be penalized properly in the moment, you knew in the moment.
Yeah. As soon as I saw Pietrangelo get up, I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah. I am the meathead Neanderthal hockey fan in me loved the fact that Anderson immediately got piled on by every single Golden Knight in the vicinity, and someone was feeding him punches too. And I hope that there's a message sent the next time they play as well, which I don't know. It's different conferences. Do you want it to have to come to that? No, I wish the Department of Player Safety would take care of it to start, but you absolutely cannot be making that hit anytime in hockey. If you're a kid listening to this, I promise you, it doesn't matter how pissed off you are, it is never worth it to make that hit. But at the NHL, guys, don't forget that. Josh Anderson's going to have his head on a swivel every single time he plays anywhere near the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I haven't checked the schedule to see when they play again, but it won't matter if it's December or March. There's someone that's going to be.
I know what you're reacting about.
Okay, so our next topic, don't tell Brad. Our next topic was going to be the Boston Bruins signing Mitchell Miller an hour ago. 21 minutes ago. So legitimately, as we were recording this podcast, Bruins president Cam Neely announced that they are parting ways with Mitchell Miller. Brad's face.
If you felt the earth shake, it was Brad's eyes rolling into the back of his head very quickly.
That was an Evan Lobsinger caliber eye roll.
That was.
Wow. What a disaster from step 0 all the way through right. Like
I'll be completely honest, and I'm usually not the dramatic one on this, but if I'm Boston ownership, I'm firing both of them immediately.
You have to. I don't. Sorry, I'm being dramatic. You don't have to, but I think they should.
As if Jeremy Jacobs wasn't in on this. Come on.
Yeah, I'm speaking from like a normal standpoint, which clearly this is
anybody
the
with
wrong lens to take.
Had anybody with a soul, heart, common sense, half a brain was running
we have a
team,
couple
yes.
of those between you and I.
Okay.
But think about it, like if you're the owner of the team, like, you want to drive the value of the team as high as possible. This definitely does not do it. And I have two people who are so off base running the operation of this team. I mean, this is not the first incident of them running the team, like, doing stupid things, but it's never been to this level. And getting it wrong from step 0 to now this is probably the best thing they've done.
Oh, God.
But it was so unnecessary because Boston's the best team in the league.
They're like, out of nowhere, they're the best team in the league. And you have a room of guys. I know people are going to be screaming Marchand. And like, yeah, Marchand on the ice is one of the most infuriating players if you're not a Boston Bruins fan. But Bergeron, Marchand, Chara, when he was there, that room is all, like, they have a known reputation for being all about integrity. It doesn't mean
on and off the ice.
It doesn't matter if you're a new guy in the room, if you're a random journeyman who in a snowstorm had to sign and play a game like Brad's dream NHL scenario. It doesn't matter if you're a star player or a fourth liner. Everyone in that room gets treated with respect, and you basically, they make you a leader, like you said, Evan, on and off the ice. And they brought in Mitchell Miller.
Do you want to give maybe like a synopsis of this as
Yeah,
quickly as you could possibly could? Because I'm sure there's lots of people who are Detroit only fans and they don't know the whole story on why this is so like insane.
The quick synopsis: Mitchell Miller gets drafted by the Arizona Coyotes a couple of years ago. Everybody's up in arms because he has a history
of heinous
yeah
assault, bullying, racist acts, like bad.
Yeah. So I don't know what his victim's disability was, but it involved a lollipop and a urinal and a lot of bullying, racially motivated bullying. That is the incident that is most often referenced in regard to Mitchell Miller and why he is this.
And that was the one that was subject to that was the court case.
That was the one, yeah, where he was sentenced, community service, etc. The family of the victim has said repeatedly, this was the worst incident, but this was not a singular incident. This was years of torment and bullying. Since then, and again, I want to sit here and before I get on my high horse, I'm a huge believer in second chances. Grade 8 students, especially grade 8 boys, are idiots. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, let alone when I was, 13 years old. But since the incident, Mitchell Miller and the victim's family, Isaiah's family, has said repeatedly he has shown no remorse. He has done nothing to make this right or apologize beyond what he has been ordered to by the court.
There was a second co-defendant as well, right? And he has taken steps to show remorse, apologize to the family, which Mitchell Miller has not done.
Yeah, so nothing happened really other than what was court ordered by to Mitchell Miller from the incident until he is drafted into the NHL. He gets drafted, everybody's up in arms. There's a half-assed attempt at another apology. Nobody bought it. Arizona renounces his rights. Mitchell Miller then goes to play another season in the USHL after getting, he lost his NCAA scholarship at the time, which I want to say was NODAC. And then, the problem here is Mitchell Miller's a really good hockey player. He had a phenomenal season. So naturally, the NHL, in the beacon of morality and common sense that it is, has teams tripping over themselves to sign this guy. Mitchell Miller ultimately signs with the Boston Bruins, and the Bruins were the ones who decided to take the PR hit. And make no mistake, the Bruins gave him the maximum rookie contract with bonuses, not out of the goodness of their hearts and their belief in redemption arcs, because you can rest assured they were competing with other teams for this. What teams, we don't know yet, if we'll ever know at all. But the Bruins are obviously the worst in the scenario, but they are not alone. Bruins sign Mitchell Miller. Naturally and rightfully, everybody, and I mean everybody in the hockey world, is like, What the hell are you guys doing?
And not only is it people on the outside, it's also the players
Yeah.
on the Boston Bruins.
So
Bergeron and
Nick
other
Foligno.
Those might be some of the most heavy-handed remarks I've ever seen a player have
Yeah.
about their own organization.
They
Now-
came out and said
Why?
this character, like they softened it a little bit, but the major quotes were, "This doesn't fit the room. We didn't like it. We were confused as to why it's even happening." And that's not all even to mention the fact that Don Sweeney, while trying to defend the signing, said the same things. Essentially the same things.
It may have been one of the worst
Yeah.
press conferences I've ever seen.
yeah. You had everything the Bruins players were saying. You have Gary Bettman coming out and saying, we were not consulted on this.
We don't even know, he's not eligible to play in the NHL right now, and we don't know if he ever will be.
And then, from the Bruins fumbling around everything, and then
For a
Just-
league that's built upon everyone being a lawyer, they do say a lot of stupid things most of the time.
And the Bruins said, we did our due diligence with Mitchell Miller to see, if he's turned things around. And, again, I'm a believer in second chances. So for all we know, the guy spent the last 2 years doing
Yeah.
a ton of good charity work. Maybe he reached out to the family. Maybe this guy has actually shown even a sliver of an F that he wants to make this right. No, none of it. Absolutely none of it. The Bruins didn't even bother talking to the victims, to Isaiah's family. They couldn't even do that. And for all that, before you go, just to culminate this, for all that, just to end where we all knew this would end.
That's where, yeah.
So they got nothing out of this. Nothing. Predictably. Anybody with half a brain could have told you this was going to be the outcome. All this for nothing.
I have this very strange feeling, and it's probably predicated on some historical past events, but I have a feeling Boston thought this would be no big deal.
To be fair, in their defense, hockey does have a very long history of...
Because if they didn't call Gary Bettman or do anything, I think they just thought this was going to be all hunky-dory, and no one would even... They'd see the wire crew go by, and people like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
At least they didn't announce it when they were in one of the most rabid hockey markets in all of the world. They waited till they were in Toronto to announce the news.
Adam Wilde pointed something out, and you alluded to this, Brad. The fact that they did that before Friday in Toronto, where they were going to be on Hockey Night in Canada, all eyes were going to be on that team regardless. It means they felt like they had to do it. So other teams were pursuing him. And again, the money in the contract also points to that as well. There is a path to showing contrition and, genuine restorative justice and all of that. And it's happened in the NHL, and it's not a complicated thing. And very rarely is it so unanimously not being achieved in one case. But with Mitchell Miller, it's like the reason everyone's piling on, it's not people are trying to cancel him or anything like that. There are cases of people doing pretty terrible shit, and they are now better people, and they just have a dark past, but that's humanity. With Mitchell Miller, it's like every step of the way, it just seems to be, like you said, Evan, they're just trying to ignore it and wait it out. And none of it has been genuine, and there have been such low-hanging pieces of fruit for them to grab onto, and it's not happened. And so there isn't true contrition, and there isn't, in my mind, space in the game for that. So the Bruins did all of this in a season where they're the best team in the league. For what? For what?
Man, is it if you have stocks in hating the Bruin, you are loaded right now.
Oh my God. My final point on this, and having to digest this as it was happening live on air is I'm sure has been an interesting listening experience.
That's why I didn't want to really say anything, and I was really hoping you didn't pull that article up with the final details, and I was just I was almost there to telling both of you and getting live reactions to both of you.
There have been a million billion players who have been talented, who haven't panned out in this league for one reason or another, and attitude is one of them. A lot of the times, I say a nauseating amount on this podcast, hockey is a human sport. It's based on errors. It's based on capitalizing on other people's mistakes. It's based on being consistent when you can't have higher peaks. And personality issues are one of the most foremost reasons why guys don't pan out when they have all the talent in the world.
Why do you think they interview people's parents and their brothers, sisters, and their roommates? Because they're trying to get a full picture of what this person is and how they, react to struggles and how they persevere. Like, it's not just, this guy's can toe drag, go bar down. Like, it's you got to know the person.
Everyone at the NHL level can do 90% of the things you need an NHL player to do. There's stuff that goes into how consistently they can do it and what kind of person they are. And it's not just about you need to know their personality to know how they're going to persevere and are they coachable. It's, are they going to be a problem? We've seen problem players. They fizzle out and burn. You, the listener, are probably thinking of 10 different people right now. It's the easiest story in the world to think of in terms of NHL players who don't pan out. So why do all of this for a player where the red flags were there before he was even on your team? It's one of the most mind-bogglingly stupid decisions I've seen a management group make in a long time. And I think we're going to go back to the very first point that you made, Evan. Wherever this decision was made, Neely, Sweeney, wherever, I mean, unless it was ownership driven completely, I think there needs to be change in Boston about this.
We may never know.
And I would not be surprised if Gary Bettman in the background is laying into that organization. I know Jeremy Jacobs has more pull than any other owner in the NHL, even though it's not necessarily him running the team right now. It's the Jacobs family. But this has just been so unnecessarily stupid.
Yep.
Anyhow, that's one hell of an end to the main topics. Let's jump into overtime.
I was going to say, when was the last time where the entire positives of an episode were the Red Wings and everything else was negative? The last 7 years has been mostly the inverse.
We'll take it, although please don't keep doing these stories, NHL. We're going to jump into overtime, which on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast is proudly brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to support the show and get cool benefits like the Winged Wheel Podcast Discord. We're giving away tickets, 2 tickets to every Red Wings home game this season, and the vast majority of them are going directly to patrons. You also get automatically entered into any giveaway that's happening. You get access to our Patreon exclusive overtime mini episodes that we record right after these. There's a ton of great benefits. So if you want to support the show, it means a lot to us. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast. Armchair GM/Genius says Jonathan Berggren is a point per game player in the A. Why is he not getting a look in the NHL? If he's a highly skilled playmaker and the Wings are short in their top 6, does it not make sense for him to get a look? Seems like a waste to have players like Smith and Luff getting time instead of Berggren. #free Berggren. So that's what we talked about earlier. And if we do see a Berggren call up soon, it'll be for the exact reasons that you stated in my mind. Cody Stark says, who's your dark horse pick from the Wings 97, 98, and 02 teams? The guy no one talks about who's a deep, essential part of those championships. I'll reply with mine, Matthew Dandino. That's always a name that comes to mind.
Dougie Brown.
Doug Brown's another one that was listed. Dandino is the foremost one.
Boyd Devereaux.
Devereaux's
If we're talking 02, yeah, that's a good one.
Rookie Pavel Datsyuk.
Freddie Olesen.
Oh, God. That is an old hockey name. Brad Stepstool says, is Kubalik in the long-term plans for us, or is he a trade chip we need to sell high on? Thanks for everything.
Depends where the Red Wings are sitting in the standings at the trade deadline. It's a boring answer, but it's going to be the answer I'll be repeating till at least January.
I would imagine they're not going to be keen on moving him, but he's also producing like crazy, has an incredibly cheap contract, not too much term on it to scare teams away. If they get an offer that they can't refuse, I would imagine they'll sell.
Counterpoint, this is also the type of guy that you generally get value on in contracts, because even if he does have 2 big years and then the Red Wings want to extend him beyond that, at least the bargaining chip was, we've only got 2 years. Like, is this a fluke? So his price doesn't go way up because of the risk that will be, quote unquote, attached to him.
I do think that's more of a question this season than people would want to care to admit. So let's see where we're at in like January, but next year especially, you're probably going to see this come up.
Next year, the Red Wings got to be not selling assets because the timeline would be a problem. This is the last year I think the Red Wings could get away with selling at the deadline. I think next year the expectation has to be playoffs, or at least like very competitive through April.
Jeremy Dahl says he had a few questions here, but one, he said, what are your thoughts on Matthews not fighting? So I think it was Konechny.
Okay, damn. I'm actually mad we didn't bring that up earlier in the episode because I did want to talk about that, because I think it was Mike Rupp that did a very good breakdown of what happened in the scrum. And there's two ways that I look at this. Should Austin Matthews be involved in scrums and scraps and get... No, of course not. Absolutely not. Why would you want your star player to be, going out there, possibly breaking his hand, possibly having his face broken? You do not want your stars fighting. So when Konechny was going at Matthews and, Mark Giordano laid the cleanest tackle I've seen in any sport all year. That was textbook. Yes. But to Rupp's point, Matthews kind of started it and seemed very casual when there's chaos going around him. I know you don't want your stars fighting, but if you're a player below him on the depth chart, which is everyone, you want to at least think he gives a shit. Michael Bunting's in a scrap. Mark Giordano, who's literally older than me, is in a scrap. Like, I'm not saying that Matthews needs to go in there and start throwing bombs, but he needs to be pulling bodies out of there. He needs to actually give a shit that it's not going to get worse. He needs to, at the very least, have a facial expression like he's there. So, no, I'm not a fan of your star players running around, starting scraps, risking injury. But at the same time, for lack of I don't even know how to phrase it, but your star players can't be nonchalant or afraid.
This has been a very boomer-heavy window. Boomer-heavy episode.
Yeah, but it's, you guys
know me, I love violence.
But you guys have been around locker rooms. You know how teammates feel about this stuff. You know how the rest of the Leafs would feel about this. If the best
player on your team is getting into fights and standing up for even the fourth line guys who get, or the bottom pairing defenseman who gets run over, that nothing gets the team going more than that.
Exactly. You don't want Matthews fighting, but if Matthews, as the leader of this team, which he should be, gets cross-checked by Travis Konechny and then turns around and just breaks his face, dude, and you do that not often.
That won't happen ever again, yeah. I'll tell you that.
Not often, but at least once or twice and a couple times, the rest of your team will run through a wall for you. Dylan Larkin got suspended for that thing with Matthew Joseph.
Exactly what I was thinking about.
Objectively, it's bad that Dylan Larkin got suspended and had to miss a game and also wrist injury for something he did. Everybody on the Red Wings will run through a damn wall for Dylan Larkin. Yeah. So, again, to summarize, it's not something that should happen even semi-often, but when it happens, you need to be involved. You need to be a leader.
Man, Toronto's insane because most other markets, I don't want to say that wouldn't be a story. Not like this though. That's like a page 7 story.
It wouldn't
most
even
of the team.
It wouldn't be a story if they were winning.
Yeah, which as usual, Toronto, they bring this onto themselves.
The context of Toronto, they lose in the first round every year. They don't get it going when the times are tough. And I think Steve even had a great line a week ago about the Leafs. He says they're the second toughest team in every game they play.
Yeah. Also of note, because there's so much happened in this episode, Keith Petruzzelli famously walked as a free agent with the Red Wings. I've heard both that the Red Wings didn't offer him. Basically, the Red Wings pretty much didn't offer him a deal initially that was a path to the NHL. And I've also heard that he was not really interested in signing with Detroit. Ended up signing an NHL deal with Toronto. So Samsonov went out, and they now have Colgren Petruzzelli, which is interesting.
Yeah, who'd have thought signing 2 often injured goalies was a recipe for disaster?
Darb EQ says, I don't think we're talking enough about Hronik's mustache. Yeah, we're not.
We're undefeated in the Sheriff Stash era.
I don't know how we make him keep it permanently beyond just Movember, but we need to find a way to make him keep it permanently. This is his best look.
I've never seen someone go from more European looking to more American looking just by shaving their face. It is absurd.
He looks like a middle pairing defenseman from like North Dakota who skates okay, moves the puck okay.
Bob
but can,
Dugnut or whatever you got.
Yeah,
that
Bobson
name is.
Dugnut.
Bobson Dugnut.
What the hell are you talking
him.
about? A middle pairing defenseman from he looks like an extra on Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, saying the same thing, but he'll look like he'll beat the absolute piss out of you. He's like a Luke Witkowski's cousin. Not because he looks like him, but because they can probably do the same thing with their fists. He does look, intensely.
Hey, for all the crap we give Hronek on the ice, he is a tough SOB.
Oh, he's not afraid to get.
He fits that look.
Yeah. Sean Stephen Cook says, Brad, have you noticed that Seider switched to the agent, but the E is a 5? How do you pronounce that?
Agent.
Like Raymond. They were both hyperlight boys, and Raymond started the year with the agent, but Mo just switched, I think, last game. I wonder if he was waiting for a custom length or something to come in. I think Raymond would use a 60-inch stock height stick so he wouldn't have to wait.
So the agent is a hyperlight build with the new material, boron 5, hence the 5 in the agent. So this is the first like non-carbon fiber hockey stick in a long, long time. This stick, I've shot with it. It's like absurdly light. Like it's 40 grams lighter than the hyperlight, which doesn't sound like a lot in general, but like in hockey stick terms, it's so noticeable when you're holding it, shooting with it. There is an adjustment period there. I actually wanted to bring up a theory that Seider and Raymond were off a little bit because there probably actually was an adjustment period to this stick. It's so different. But
your brain works different than mine, man.
It is. It's
so
not.
weirdo.
It's a weird place. But
the worst thing I hate about the NHL now is every time I see someone's tape job, I just think of Brad and what his distaste for it will be.
God.
The other day I saw Seider's tape job and it looked like it got hit by a grenade. He looked at it and just went back to like sitting on the bench, and I was like, "There's somewhere Brad."
I hate
just lost like 2 years of his life.
I hate that you brought that up because I actually know the exact moment you saw that.
I think it was the Islanders game.
And I did see that, and I did die inside a little bit. McDavid's bad for that, too. His tape could be hit with a weed whacker. He doesn't
care. Doesn't he use the same stick for, like, ever?
His stick's, like, 8 years old.
Oh, my God.
He's using an old RBZ that was wrapped as a Super Tax. Like, he was using an old wrap with an even older stick. And he's using skates that are just as old. And then there's Crosby using even older shit than that. And meanwhile, here's Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider playing with hockey sticks roughly the same weight as a napkin.
That's like the closest we're going to get to a modern day Al McKinnon still shooting with a wood stick.
Yep.
Bombs from the point.
Oh, if you grab, I'm going to rephrase this. If you hold Sidney Crosby's hockey stick and then Mo Seider's, it would feel like Crosby's is a wooden hockey stick. There is such a stark difference.
History's cyclical, I suppose.
Colt Rosenzweig says, so that was such a fun and exciting weekend. I have kind of a random question. Given what happened to Luff's face after encountering that puck, why is the cage helmet he's now wearing not more widely used? Oh, just in general.
Why
visibility?
Visibility and hockey players are idiots. They, the
I don't know, man. The first time I wore a visor after having like a full cage,
it's like you're seeing for the first time.
Yeah,
I do like it way better, and I know I should switch back, but I just can't because it is better.
The visibility is that much better.
Just invest in a really good mouth guard.
Yeah.
If you get cut on the cheeks or whatever, that's just flesh. You don't want to be losing teeth.
It's all a visibility thing, and it's like you'll see the face shield rather than the cage a lot of times too for visibility. I know the shield tends to fog up. They have sprays and coatings for that now, but the bars really. But if you switch away from a cage to a visor, then ever have to go back to a cage, it's going to be like you're playing from prison.
The first thing I noticed when I went from a cage to the visor was how much easier I was picking up the puck in my peripheral when it was in my feet and it was in close to my body because the bars in the chin cup don't get in the way. You can see straight down.
It's also different being able to vocalize easier because your jaw, the bottom of your jaw is not hitting the chin cup.
Unless you're these... I know it's a style thing for the kids.
Mine tight at all.
That's the least surprising thing I've ever heard.
No, nobody does. It's just getting worse as time goes on. You should see the friggin' idiot kids at the arena now. You could fit your fist between
I'm telling
the
you,
cage.
this is a boomer episode. This is a boomer episode.
Listen, I understand. Like, I have very strong hockey style opinions.
Oh, we apparently have the full spectrum in this room.
Yeah. But like the cage hang trend right now
Not
is
good.
so
Not
stupid.
good.
It's
It
dangerous.
looks
You're going to cut your chin open that way.
One, I wouldn't want that thing rattling around. That would just drive me nuts. I don't see functionally. Two, you look like an idiot. And three, like you're just making other problems worse. Like everything else is subjective except for everything you do. But
I will have the people note he pointed at Ryan.
yeah. But that one's
It's the
objectively
guy in the
dumb.
green shirt. Okay, we got to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. We're going to record our Patreon exclusive overtime. Folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. Next episode, actually, there's one game before next episode that's Tuesday night against the Montreal Canadiens at home. Patrons, check our page. We're going to be giving away a ticket for that. That episode's also going to feature a really fun interview if all goes to plan. Thank you all so much for tuning in and for bearing with us. It's been fun talking about 3 wins. We'd like to thank all of our listeners, new and old, our name level sponsors on every patron, and our name level sponsors on Patreon: Arjun Shanker, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Aikfer, Armchair GM / Genius, Nick Perks, Terry, driver of the number 69 Crying, Ryan Hannes, Banana Slam Jamathong, Matthew M. Rice, Croner's Left Knee, Bengo Bango, I'm out of rhymes, Bingo Bango, Brandon M., Carl, Brutanen, and Aluski, Chimmy, Chris Ball, Chris P., Citizen High Five, Connor Scovey, Coyote Season Tickets in Tempe, Derek Enstam, DJ Denton, Elite Offensive Defenseman, Ben Sherratt, Give Blood, Fight Probert, Hassam Al-Qassem, Jay Gollum, Jacob Turner, Kalen Wood, Kevin James, King Tone, Marcus, Matt McKay, Nedeljkovic goalie number 1, Nicholas Fritz, R.A., Ryan Hanna, the Unshowered, Ryan Hubbard, Scott Martin, the Podcasting Couch, Zachary Rogers, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Sam Bankson, number 1 Detroit Red Guys fan, Adam, I wish I could finish like Ernie, Antonio Gracias, Babe Landeskog, Ben Barron, Brad Simmons, Brian Vasha, Connor Leighton, Darren Fick, Dave W., Disciple of Large, the Prophet of the Towering Behemoth, Philip Zadiz Nuts, I'll have an order of large fries and a pizza with 2 eyes, also maybe a win, Heronix Handlebar, James Laporte, Jeremiah Dobo, JM Rhapsody, John Evans, John Ingalls, Josh Yelton, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Linda Hull, Logan Burgos, Matt S., Loyal Soldier of the Cheesebag Army. Matt, thank you so much for your help this weekend. Maximilian, Melissa Erickson, Munchma, with a Q. Ophelia, Papa Woody, Puce on the Loose, Thick Rick, and Aaron Hudson. Thank you all so very much, and we'll talk to you Wednesday.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.